Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. How are y'all doing? I hope y'all are having an amazing day. I'm back again, late as usual. I'm sorry. But today I'm really excited because today I'm going to talk about something really interesting. Today I'm going to talk about the Peaky Blinders. Not the TV show, although I wouldn't mind talking about Cillian Murphy all day long. But today we're going to talk about the actual story of the Peaky Blinders. Okay, so the information that I gathered were kind of scattered, and I had to, compile them and put them in numbers so that it is easier for you to understand. And as usual, like I do in my videos, I have divided the video in sections so that it is easier for you to understand, and I have written everything down on a paper, so don't mind if I read from my notepad. Okay, so the first thing that we are going to talk about is the background, like what led to the formation of the Peaky Blinders, or in general, what led to the formation of gangs such as the Peaky Blinders. During the late 19th and the early 20th century, a few English cities, they had the problem of backstreet gangs. These backstreet gangs, Peaky Blinders was one of them, they started to grow up in some of the major English cities, as is mentioned by Professor Chinn. Now these gangs, they were known as the slogging gangs, or they were known as the sloggers. What does the word slog mean? The word slog, as explained by Professor Chinn, means a hard blow. So basically these backstreet gangs, they used to fight against each other, one street against the other, and their means were violent. That's why they were known as the slogging gangs. These men or boys who were involved in these kind of backstreet gangs, their age ranged from 12 to 30, and these people were mostly working young men. And not only one, but there were several families involved in these backstreet gang business. At the end of the 19th century, there were at least 50 violent gangs in Birmingham itself. Now, what was the reason for the emergence of these backstreet gangs? The most important reason that is pointed out by historians is that the increasing poverty in some of the English cities led to the formation of these backstreet gangs. And there was also the increased amount of pickpocketing, robbing, and also, violent ways were used for such criminal activities. Now we come to the actual gang, the Peaky Blinders. Unlike what is shown in the TV series actually showed Peaky Blinders rising in 1919, that is the 20th century. The Peaky Blinders actually emerged in the 1890. The name Peaky Blinders was first mentioned in the year 1890. There was a backstreet gang incident, and after that the name Peaky Blinders was mentioned in a number of publications, including one in London. And the first mention of the name was in a newspaper article of the Birmingham Mail, and the date of the issue was 24th March 1890, and the paper suggested that the Peaky Blinders was probably founded by a man named Thomas Mucklow in the place of Small Heath. Now the newspaper report says a serious assault was committed upon a young man named George Eastwood, living at 3 Court, 2 House, Arthur Street, Small Heath on Saturday night. It seems that Eastwood, who has been for some time a total abstainer, called between 10 and 11 o'clock at the Rainbow Public House in Adderley Street and was supplied with a bottle of gingerbread. Shortly afterwards, several men known as the Peaky Blinders gang, whom Eastwood knew by sight from their living in the same neighborhood as himself, came in. This newspaper report was probably the first ever mention of the term Peaky Blinders. Now, who were the members of this gang? There were several notorious members. The most powerful man in the gang was known as Kevin Mooney, and his real name was Thomas Gilbert, but he used to routinely change his last name. There were some other members including David Taylor, Ernest Haynes, I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, I'm sorry, Harry Fowles, and Stephen McNichol. Many of these gang members, after the Peaky Blinders, they were no longer in existence. Many of these gang members, they even fought in the First World War. So what were the activities of the Peaky Blinders? This backstreet gang, Peaky Blinders, they had their own area of influence, and in the late 19th century they began to expand their criminal activities. Now the activities that they used to mostly do included protection rackets, fraud, land grabs, smuggling, hijacking, robbery, and illegal bookmaking. Professor historian Heather Shore of the University of Leeds claims that the Blinders were more focused on street fighting, robbery, and racketeering rather than organized crime. And also, unlike they showed in the web series, they did not really involve in politics. The things that they used to fight with, they actually adopted quite violent measures. They used to fight with belt buckles, metal tip boots with fire irons. They also fought with knives and handkerchiefs filled with stones. Now, as it is suggested that the Peaky Blinders got their name because they sew razor blades in their peaked caps, that is a false information according to Professor Chinn. There was no evidence of razor blades in their peaked caps. Professor Chinn suggests the name Peaky Blinders came from the fashion of them wearing flat caps with those short peaks, and this sort of fashion was very popular in a lot of English cities, including Manchester and Birmingham in the 1890s. By the early 1900s, that is the early 20th century, the Peaky Blinders eventually lost their power and they were gone. Now, what led to the decline of the Peaky Blinders and also the backstreet gangs in general? One of the reasons why Peaky Blinders disappeared was the introduction of strict policing. A man named Sir Charles Horton Rafter, who was from Belfast, he came to Birmingham in the year 1899 and was probably one of the main reasons why the Peaky Blinders disappeared. Second reason was, again, it was related to the legal systems. The second reason was stronger sentences for people who were convicted of violence. The third reason was definitely the change in social conditions. If you remember, what really led to the emergence of this backstreet gang problem was poverty. Now, when eventually the society started getting better and more people went to school, got education, the backstreet gang problem eventually declined. Also, there was more discipline introduced in the society, like there were clubs, boxing clubs, and various other activities that instill discipline in these young people, and that is also one of the reasons why this backstreet gang problem disappeared slowly. Now, Professor Chinn, who actually studied about the Peaky Blinders and also these slugging gangs, he emphasizes the importance of these boxing clubs and the self-respect and the self-discipline that came with this boxing clubs he emphasized on this point, and he said that this is one of the reasons that led to the decline of gang warfare in the early 20th century. So the Peaky Blinders, they managed to retain their influence for almost a decade. But when they were growing their influence, it kind of attracted the attention of other gangs. One of them was called the Birmingham Boys. Now, with the increasing clash between the two gangs, the Peaky Blinders slowly started withdrawing themselves from the central Birmingham, and they went towards the countryside. And then the Sabini gang, yes, the Sabini gang was real. The Sabini gang, they moved in on the Birmingham Boys gang. That was the decline of the Peaky Blinders. Now that was a quite interesting story. Now, what does Stephen Knight, what connection does he has with the actual Peaky Blinders? What was his inspiration? Now, Stephen Knight, he has a direct connection with the Peaky Blinders. He shared his father's story, where his father knew the Peaky Blinders when he moved to Small Heath. So his father's childhood story was the main inspiration behind this TV series. Now, most of the information that I gathered for this video were from Professor Chinn. I watched several videos where he talked about the Peaky Blinders. Professor Chinn is a professor of the University of Birmingham. And interestingly, he himself is a direct descendant of the Peaky Blinders gang. His great-grandfather, Edward Derrier, I'm sorry if I mispronounce the name, his great-grandfather was one of the members of the Peaky Blinders. Professor Chinn actually studies extensively about these backstreet gangs and the Peaky Blinders, and he even wrote a book on the real story of the Peaky Blinders. He shared an interesting fact. He said that the TV series showed a strong working class women. Now, that is a very historically accurate representation, because during that time, working class women, they did hold influence over the house. So the most important person in the household was the mother, and the mother's mother was the second most important person in the household. And back then, when children used to belong to this working class, they used to say that the house belonged to their mother. So regarding the TV series, there is a lot of historical figures used in the TV series, like we have Winston Churchill and also Sabini. Sabini was a real character, but mostly the story is fictional, mostly. And even the main lead character, Thomas Shelby, he is also a fictional character. But as Professor Chinn mentions, there are also historically accurate representations in the TV series. That was it for today. That was the interesting story of the Peaky Blinders. What I found most interesting was Professor Chinn being the direct descendant of the Peaky Blinders, and Stephen Knight's connection with the Peaky Blinders. That is absolutely amazing. That's a very interesting story. So I am planning on reading Professor Chinn's book, if I can get hold of a copy. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. I enjoyed a lot. It was really fun looking for information about this gang and this part of history, and it's quite interesting to me. I hope I could instill a bit of interest in you as well. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you have made this far, I love you guys so much. And I also have to mention that one of my videos, the one that I did on real life time traveler, that video actually got something around 1.1k views, which is a lot for me, like I cannot even imagine. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. And I won't prolong this outro anymore. I really hope that you're staying safe and you're healthy and happy, and I'm gonna be back again with more interesting stories. I have so many ideas. I just can't wait to share it with you all. Thank you so much again. I love you guys so much.